A warm welcome to our coverage of England against the Netherlands in this second season of the Under-23s European Championship competition. It is a semi-final fighting for the right to meet the winners of Norway or Sweden in a final on Friday, or potentially the loser of this game we're about to watch will meet the losers of that one in the third place playoff. I'm Michael McCann and I'm delighted to be joined by the former Spurs and West Ham head coach Rhian Skinner. Also, once upon a time, England's number 2 under Phil Neville, and worked right through the England age group. So the perfect person really to run the rule over this fixture. A very good afternoon, and just to start you off, a chance for these players to get meaningful minutes but with a competitive edge.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, great to be here and looking at these players now. Obviously, the progress that's been made throughout all of our England teams has been so good. These types of competitive games are really what we need to be exposing these young players to in order to prepare them for the senior Lionesses. And we've seen so many of them progress over recent years and do so well in the Euros that this is what these tough games are about against the Netherlands.
And we know for a fact that Sarina Wiegman has got her eye on it, and it's not just because the Netherlands are the opponents, albeit that certainly adds a little bit of extra spice, because I'm sure even the more casual of our women's football supporters at home will know that there's been plenty of links between England and the Netherlands in recent times. But we've also seen the 17-year-old Erica Meg Parkinson, and Leanne Sanderson and I commentated on her playing very impressively in this exact fixture a month ago, and now she is playing for the Lionesses. Kira Barry has got that senior call-up. So there's always that synergy and there's always that possibility that good performances at this level lead to something almost possibly even sooner than you might have expected it in your career.
Well, it's an opportunity to develop those players ready for the chance to play at the senior level, as we've said. Anouk Denton got a first senior call-up before Christmas. Ruby Mace has been involved, and these are just windows of opportunity to keep exposing players to international environment. The new sort of format that we've had over the last couple of years has exposed them to all of the top-level European teams, which is why these games are now so tight. It's just a real test of their quality, but staying within the England setting at the right age group to keep gaining caps, really.
Yeah, some of you going a little bit further back might remember a world, your women's football OGs watching, where there was a version of this competition that was called the Pinatar Cup. I think it's important to clarify for anyone tuning in, this isn't the Under-23 European Championships Euro semi-final. This is a different competition. It's in its second season. England won Group A. The Netherlands finished runners-up in Group B. But there has been this extra element added in Spain this week where these ranking matches are played. And so obviously by being a winner or a runner-up, you get a semi-final and you get a final or you get a third-place game. And it feels like that's a welcome addition. Germany are the holders from last year, but it definitely gives the whole tournament a bit more edge and a bit more context rather than what it initially was, which was a series of friendlies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, worked with the 20s in the past, and the problem was that it just wasn't competitive enough, quite frankly. The gap in between under-19s European Championships is one thing, but to be limited to those types of exposures where what you do matters to the result and you can win or you can progress to a final. If you don't do your job, you might be in a third-place playoff. Ultimately, the reality of the world in football is these players need to be able to deliver when it matters, and that's really what we needed to bridge the gap with. And obviously, this competition helps to make that a little bit more enforced. As I said, the quality is better, so every game is a real test for the players, and therefore you test their resilience, their ability to compete at that level. What are they going to know? What are they going to do when they're under pressure? You learn more about the players, and the players learn more about themselves.
So it's England under-23s versus the Netherlands for a spot in the final on Friday against Norway or Sweden. A great chance for the young Lionesses to make their mark, with no doubt the likes of England head coach Sarina Wiegman watching on. It's time now, of course, with the teams out, for us to get across to the national anthems.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to the national anthems of the Netherlands and England. Thank you.
the two national anthems. Het Wilhelmus for the Netherlands and God Save the King for England kick off mere moments away here at the Murcia Stadium in Murcia in the southeast of Spain, near the coast and Cartagena. Capacity of just over 31,000. Let's take a look at the Netherlands starting 11 first. There's just 4 survivors left from the team that drew 1-1 against England last month. Vanessa Shabani and Emma Frains, the fullbacks. Rohina van Eyck, the keeper, and Danique Noordman, who really impressed in midfield tonight. Eva Alder Elberink, who came off the bench to score a 96th minute equaliser, gets a start down the left wing. England, unsurprisingly, are also much changed from that last game against the Dutch in Shrewsbury when Lena Gunning-Williams scored on her first under-23 start. Gunning-Williams is one of 6 left in the lineup. Chiara Keating, Ruby Mason, Lexi Potter in midfield, Izzy Goodwin up front, and Eleanor Klinger are the others to be left. There's 3 changes in defence. Gracie Pryor, Meg Collette and Jess Simpson making way for Hannah Silcock, Anouk Denton and the 17-year-old Chloe Sawi. Ruby Mace and Mia Enderby coming for Maisie Simons and Erica Meg Parkinson. And there's a switch of position for Eleanor Klinger, who moves from the left wing to more of a number 10 role. Pre-match formalities being completed. Anouk Denton, England skipper, on the left. Fenna Meyer, Dutch captain, on the right. What are your reflections on those team sheets, Rianne? Plenty of changes for both sides from a month ago, and of course with this being a semi-final, it has a bit more of an edge to it than a game like that, because these sides have finished 1-1 in their last 3 meetings, all of which have seen the Dutch hitting them with an equaliser in stoppage time, and if that happens today, no extra time, we have a penalty shootout.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously these games are designed to prepare players for senior football, aren't they? So the changes, no doubt, are exposure for these players to, you know, play against these tougher teams and to make sure that they're preparing properly for that transition. So obviously, as you say, it's been so tight amongst these 2 teams, so it's going to be a real test as the game goes on for England's ability to manage the game towards the latter stages, when hopefully, as they have proven in the past, they can get themselves ahead in the game. But I think overall, you know, as we said, there's players that have been seniors, come back down. You expect them to stand out in these games. They should, you know, having had those exposures, and the amount of senior football that's now being played amongst both of these teams. You know, the Dutch players get a lot of minutes in the Dutch league as well. So that's definitely a positive for this group, and this game's going to be a really tough test all round, I think, across the board.
Regardless of what happens in the game itself, of course, very important that both teams show their solidarity, linking arms around the centre circle to show that there is no room for racism in football. A nice gesture from both sides, a firm reminder that discrimination has no place in our game. The Netherlands kicking from left to right as we look at things in this first half. England from right to left, both sides in their home kit, despite, of course, this venue very much being neutral in nature. In the sunny Spain springtime. So England hunting a place in the under-23 European competition on Friday against Norway or Sweden in the final. They will get a game regardless, because if they lose, they'll be in a third place match, but that's not the game either of these sides are chasing a part in. England winners of Group A, the Netherlands runners-up in Group B. An intriguing afternoon awaits us, and if you're just joining us, great to have your company. Yours truly, Michael McCann, joined by once upon a time England number 2, and also has worked through most of the England age groups at one point or another. Very good afternoon to Rianne Skinner.
Yeah, fantastic to be here. It's obviously, I'm looking forward to this game. Opportunity to get in a final on Friday, you know, for England. So this will be a really, really good test for them to see where they stand. And obviously a lot of players in here that haven't played as many minutes for England lately, because there's been a few that have moved up, as we know, into the seniors. So it'll be a good opportunity to see some of those.
Patient possession for England almost immediately from the kickoff on what is a big international break at senior level as well. Spain being hosted at Wembley tomorrow in the 2027 World Cup qualifiers. Is a slightly nervous moment there, but Keating can clear. And of course, seniors also playing Iceland away in Reykjavik on Saturday the 18th. Here's Elbrink, decides to try one. That would have been pretty audacious from Eva Alda Elbrink.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a few loose moments there, wasn't there? A couple of short passes, not a great touch from Lexi Potter, and it's just allowed them to steal it. But that pass back there was just a little bit short, and obviously she's seeing Chiara Keating a little bit off her line because obviously England were in possession. So that's the risk really that makes the goal a little bit more open, but fortunately off target for England, for Holland. So.
Have to admire the cheekiness of Eva Alda Elbrink to try it.
Confidence.
Yeah, absolutely, and she should have it as well. She's been in the goals for both club and country through youth levels. Scored the late heartbreaker for England in that draw in March with what was pretty much literally the last kick of the match, continuing an unfortunate trend for England because Fenna Kalma had done it twice to England previously in October 2024 and also February 2024. Sawi in there battling for it and winning it. One of the very youngest players you'll see at this level, an under-23s game, and she is still 17 years old, Chloe Sawi.
There's just a fantastic bit of skill there, actually. You know, she's looked after it really well. Fullbacks involved early.
Gunning-Williams scored on her first start in that game a month ago between these two at Shrewsbury. Slightly too much on that.
I think you can see England's intent straight away. It's quite common, you know, we want the fullbacks to get forward quite high. You can see that at all age groups. And both Anouk Denton, Chloe Sawi have already been involved higher up the pitch. So that's obviously setting a tone and intent to the game. And clearly a high pressing structure with Lena Gullin-Williams on the right wing being higher there with Isabel Goodwin. And obviously they forced a turnover. So they're clearly going to be pressing as high as possible and making life difficult for the Netherlands to play out.
Yeah, so important to have that synergy of ways of playing in a tactical sense, just to try and make that step up through those squads easier. Gunning-Williams. Drifting past a couple, it's still Gunning-Williams. She just lost track of the ball for a second. At the moment you thought she might shoot. She is a player that's got those moments of magic in her, as my co-commentator knows better than most, having given her a professional debut where she scored against Coventry United in 5-1 Conti Cup win a few years back now, in November 2022.
She's has a fantastic work ethic, Lena, and she's so direct and so positive, whether she plays as a 9 or whether she plays out wide. You know, she's got the capabilities to really cause a lot of threats, and when she gets in between a centre-half and a full-back, it's a real problem for the opposition, which is almost where that worked out there. She just left the ball behind her a little bit, which made it a bit difficult to get the shot off.
Slightly short pass from Van Peyeren. All the way back to Rohina van Eyck, who's one of the most experienced players in this Dutch side, has more than 70 appearances at senior level for Ajax since her debut 5 years ago. She's only ever played for them at senior level. Important challenge just to slow that attack. Now Denton forward. And that's the kind of service Gunning-Williams thrives on. It's a 3-on-3 if England work this quickly. It's Gunning-Williams across, and it's missed. What a chance for Goodwin. A golden opportunity for England to lead early on. And Goodwin can't believe she hasn't taken it.
That's a fantastic opportunity. I mean, if you think how it evolved, just Anouk Denton had jumped out and then it turned over, so she was already higher, which allowed her to get Lena Gunning-Williams away. And you know, that ball across the box is absolutely perfect from Gunning-Williams. But for me, Isabel Goodwin, she's just got to take that on her left foot, but she's tried to do it on her right, which made it a little bit harder to connect with because of where the defenders were standing, but the goalkeeper, sorry. But ultimately, I mean, that should be a goal. England should be 1-0 up for sure.
Back to Keating, who hasn't had a lot to do early doors. Certainly a positive start for England, who've dominated the ball so far. Scooped forward by Keating. Tipped on by Van Uden. Cross for a ball is a good one, and it's helped on by Shabani, who wants to be found on the underlap. Instead, Thomas comes inside, eventually gets it out to Shabani. The Dutch finding their passing rhythm. Van Uden. Oh, that's a lovely step to get rid of the threat of gunning Williams on the press from Venemea. Van Uden. If they do end up scoring from this one, the Netherlands, it will become one of those play it in fast forward and count the number of passes type of goals. It's been quite the flowing passing move. What's at the end of it? Hensbergen. Slightly heavy challenge gives England a chance to draw a free kick and draw breath for the foul on Silcock.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see that the Netherlands are looking for those gaps in between the centre-back and full-back of England. So when Anouk Denton's trying to press on that side a little bit higher and Gunning Williams is pressing a little bit higher, there's a bit of space on the outside of Hannah Silcock. And just before that point, Nordam and Hensbergen both made runs in between, and that's where they kind of got a little bit more success there. So it'd be interesting to see how England manage that moving forward, those deeper runs.
Ticked on by Thomas. It's interesting you mentioned runs in behind, because without meaning to get too nerdy, in terms of pitch dimensions, both length and width, this is a pitch that's right on the biggest size and scale of that which most of these players will play with regularly domestically. So don't be surprised if we see a lot more across this game of a version of what we saw with that ball for Denton, for Gunning Williams from Denton, using those spaces in behind. It's the kind of pitch that, both in size and scope, makes it quite difficult to play too high a line on. And here come England. Another big chance for England early doors here. And what a block that is. Just as Mia Enderby was dreaming of having England in front, coming back in the nick of time was Shabani.
Yeah, it's a fantastic recovery run there from the fullback there, Shabani, for the Netherlands. I think the ball there, the turnover, Ruby Mace wins the ball in midfield. Lexi Potter sees that run on the outside. It's a fantastic ball to Mia Enderby, and she sets herself up well. It's just such a great recovery run that just blocks her at an appropriate time for the Netherlands there, but opportunity with a corner.
Mia Enderby back in the squad after missing out on the last one through injury. Product of the Leeds United youth system, and then Sheffield United and Liverpool in more recent times, of course. First corner of the game, and it's flicked just wide. Another good early chance for England to grab the lead, and it was Taya Goldie up from the back, almost nodding in.
I think a timing of movement there from central of the 6-yard box, just running across that front post area, just gave her a great opportunity to get there first. Possibly, you know, close are we there, might have been able to pin her player to stop her coming out from the front post, and then it's an even cleaner header.
Another England corner, and another England head on it. Easy catch for Van Eyck, but some promising early signs from set pieces for England.
Good delivery areas, making the Netherlands have to defend properly is important. The consistency of that for your own team based on your structure is so key. Otherwise, it's so difficult to make good contacts.
Remember, of course, you can watch plenty of England's youth internationals live and exclusive on the England YouTube channel this season. Click the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on all the latest from the England team camps, as well as highlights, interviews, and so much more. Back with Keating.
So obviously the Netherlands are playing quite sort of central, with almost like a 4 with a 2-2-2 almost right down the middle of the pitch, which is forcing England out into wide areas. But then the speed of play for England will be important, because like you can see from the picture just there, if you get it out into the wide areas quickly, because they're starting from such a narrow position, it might give England the opportunity to get some overloads in wide areas if they're quite progressive with a pass quite early.
Forward by Sawi. Promising start to England's first game with Lydia Bedford as new boss after Lauren Smith was in interim charge last month. Bedford, who brings with her a wealth of experience from not just the England youth setup from her time, but also working as a coach at Arsenal, as a head coach at Leicester City, amongst a wide range of her journey that has now brought her into this role, which is a key role in that funnel up to the seniors that has been so productive for England in recent times. Here's Sawi. Has managed to win the corner. That's nice from Chloe Sawi.
Yeah, I think she's just shown a really positive intent. As I say, with the fullbacks being so front-footed for England and the way that the Netherlands is set up, you'd like to think they're going to start to create more opportunities as well, just because they think quite aggressively as well at getting forward, which has been positive right from the start of this game.
Third corner of the game for England. England have posed a real threat with their first couple. It's another decent ball in, and it's just over the head of Goodwin at the far post. Pass slightly overhit, gives England the chance to keep the pressure on. The draw for this competition for next season has been done in the last few days as well, so this year these sides were not in the same group. England top in Group A, the Netherlands runners-up in Group B. It's Goodwin's offside, and these two are apart next season as well. So next season at this under-23s competition could only meet in the knockout stage. England have been drawn with Portugal, Norway, Italy and Belgium. Meanwhile, the Netherlands are in Group A with Scotland, Germany, France and Sweden. England under-23s will play Norway at home and potentially also a friendly in the October window of this year. In November and December's window, it's Belgium at home and Portugal away. And then March 2027, which feels a little way away now, it's Italy at home, and continues from there on. Everybody plays everyone home and away, and that league table comes into what you're seeing now, which is effectively sort of finals week, if you want to call it that. Slight foul in there, just brings England relief as the Dutch were trying to press a little more highly than we've seen so far. Goldie just drawing the late contact from Van Byron. Sawi battling for it and losing out, and then quickly win it back. It's a right old battle in there. Goldie has to be wary. Keating was trying to offer the short option and is now given the international signal for Goldie just to get it as far away as possible. Crucial touch in there just to slow things down from Ruby Mace and win it back for England.
Yeah, I think we're just rushing a little bit in the playing out from the back, because actually there's quite a lot of opportunity to face forward. Even though they're coming out into those wide areas, Keating could have got out the opposite side. We maybe just can make some slightly more relaxed decisions about playing out.
Gunning-Williams tucks it on. What can England conjure up here? Has managed to get the cross in, despite the fact it looked pretty unlikely at one point. Van Uden was there at the near post. Shabani has made a bit of a mistake there, has handed it to Sawi. Sawi's cross, only half clear for now. And given away carelessly. Goodwin to shoot on the turn. Would have been some goal to score from there for Izzy Goodwin.
Yeah, you can see both teams are I just think a little bit tentative playing out from the back. There's opportunities to play forward. I think that was Frains there that just played inside when actually there was an opportunity to sort of clip it up into feet up the line to the forward players. But it's just some of these are some of the things that obviously they need to get experience of under that kind of pressure, to still find those forward passes that alleviate the pressure while still keeping the ball. Playing inside in those areas is dangerous.
Mistake here from Goldie. Now possibilities for the Dutch. It's Van Byron. Van Buren to take aim. Still not properly away. Albeit the cross is coming all the way through to Gunning Williams. He's past one and past two and has lots of open grass to run into. It's still Leonard Gunning Williams. Finds a fellow winger in Enderby. Enderby too close to Van Eyck.
It's a fantastic run from Gunning Williams. Obviously, just really tidy when she's getting herself out of trouble in and around her own half there, and loads of space to travel. I don't think she needed to play the ball when she did. She still had loads of space, and Isabel Goodwin had managed that run. She pulled the players centrally that could have given her more space, actually.
Lovely feet and possibilities for England again going forward. And slightly wasteful, you might have to say. There was options left, right and centre for Ruby Mace, who only had eyes for goal, and I think the reaction from Mace herself tells you she regrets that decision now, albeit worth always saying. The game always looks simple up here in the warm, cosy commentary box.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 3 shots we've had from quite far outside the box now as well, when actually there's opportunities for England to probably just thread that through. There was 2 situations there where Isabel Goodwin was actually making runs into the box, and probably the easier thing is to slide her into those areas rather than those 25-yard opportunities.
Lovely spell of passing from the Netherlands, but the crossfield ball for Shabani is just overhit a bit too much and broken England's first line of the press very effectively.
I think they've shown some really good qualities on the ball, the Netherlands, for sure. And, you know, the midfield zone in particular, I think they've got some really tidy players in there that have looked to show their capabilities.
Goodwin slaloming inside. Might just go herself here. It's blocked by Rutters. It's there for Gunning Williams. And then just clipped goalwards, and so close from Eleanor Klinger. Off the underside of the bar, how unlucky.
Yes, a fantastic chance. I was just thinking there was an opportunity there to play through, to set it off for Lexi Potter as well before, when Isabel Goodwin was running through, and then it evolved, and obviously that's a great first time hit from Klinger, Eleanor Klinger there. Obviously the keeper was there, but she's not saving that if it goes under the bar, you know, so it's a really positive chance right from the edge of the box.
Klinger, who's probably one of the names slightly less known to people in this England lineup because of playing her football and spending much of her career outside of England. Plays for Stanford University, played for the USA in younger age groups. Born in London though, grew up in Ohio, and is now at Stanford Uni in California. Made her under-23s debut in the window last month. That would have been quite a way to get her first goal at this level.
Yeah, I think the challenges in the US system is that she won't be playing college football at the moment because their system sort of finishes around about November time, dependent on their progress in the NCAA Championship. So basically, that's going to cause it a little bit, some challenges for her really. But I think she's been fantastic. She's been really busy in this game, looking to get on the ball, pulling people away. She's made some runs out into wide areas as well. So it will be fascinating to see how she evolves within this team.
It's England making all the early running here. Mace getting there first. Great chance to get a good ball into the box. Sawi just over here.
Yeah, it's just, like you say, it's just an overhit ball there, but obviously they were looking at that back post area based on the setup for the free kick, but opportunity to get set again. You can see Anouk Denton, Leonard Gunning Williams is jumping out, Anouk Denton's higher, so they're really trying to force it down this side, really.
Won by Sawi, who has lots of options ahead of her. Still going Sawi. Sets it back, and it's Enderby. Just closed out by a wall of orange. England knocking on the door again, though.
Yeah, I think there was a really good chance there. Isabel Goodwin sort of made a little run and then stopped, so Sawi was obviously then on her own really to find that opportunity, but love that little kind of cut back into that key middle area for Mia Enderby, creating an opportunity for the shot there. First time really in the box where we've looked like we've had a good chance to get a shot off, so that's important. It's a good confidence builder.
It's England making all the other early running here in Murcia.
Whenever Lexi Potter or midfield, you know, Ruby Mace pulls out into those sort of false fullback positions like Lexi Potter just did a minute ago, it pulls the Netherlands out of shape and it gives the forward line for England a lot of space just in front of the Netherlands back line that England could probably exploit a little bit more.
Yeah, you mentioned that 4-2-2-2 for the Dutch. We definitely saw almost 4 or 5 mini games within a game last month of slight tweaks and adjustments to both teams' systems. So it'll be fascinating to see as this game evolves quite how both sides respond to each other.
Well, when they're getting past a certain point of press, when they're deeper in their own half, they're flattening off more into like a 4-4-2 to keep like the compactness really. So you'll see just a minute ago, that's what they were doing in the last clip when England were progressing there. So it's obviously a flexible system that adjusts to keep them compact, but the 2-2-2 is kind of helping them to press higher up. It's just leaving them a little bit exposed in wide areas.
You've just seen the bottom left of your picture there, just disappeared out of shot in the blue. England's new under-23s head coach Lydia Bedford, who midway through this first half will be pretty content with what she's seen so far from her team.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in terms of the chances, obviously England have had the lion's share of that, so to speak, and you know, I think that's been really positive. Most of the game has been played in and around Netherlands' sort of half of the pitch, so there's been some real positives. It's just the clinical element of the types of shots. Try to increase the chances of the shots for you to get goals from. I think our chances that we've taken so far have been quite difficult ones to score from. So I think that just the more that you get, though, the more confidence builds, doesn't it? So I think that's important.
Worked nicely up that left flank. Good resistance to the press from England. And eventually just drawing a small foul in there. Mace trying to control that defensive midfield area. It does feel like Ruby Mace has been around forever for those who followed women's football for a good while. At Arsenal, once upon a time in the youth system, then Manchester City, loans at Birmingham City and Leicester before a permanent move to Leicester, and then more recently at Everton, of course. She's vastly experienced, Mace, for someone who is still playing under 23s international football. Of course, does have senior cap as well in December 2024 against Switzerland. Haven't seen a lot of the Netherlands with the ball. Battle for it here. Goodwin using her strength to try and get on it. Game of head tennis continues, is eventually ended by Meyer. One back by Klinger. And then get the free kick, which stops what could have been quite a dangerous breakout. Danik Nordman with the foul.
Yeah, I think they've had to do a couple of those actually in the Netherlands. When there was an opportunity, if Ruby Mace takes that ball, she was definitely in a position to face forward and it would have taken their midfield out. So, you know, sometimes it's just playing the smart game, you know?
Yeah, it's a foul that doesn't bring too great a consequence, no card, and gives you a chance to defensively reset that shape. Gunning Williams is caught offside. Both teams going to get a chance just to take some fluids on board here. It is pretty hot in Murcia, so understandably player welfare being put first. It effectively sort of breaks the game up into quarters, so it's really important for both head coaches to use this time as effectively as they possibly can. And you would think, after what we've seen, that it's the Netherlands that will feel like they've got more adjusting to do.
Yeah, I think from an England perspective, I think it's just been a little bit more ruthless. There's been moments, that's the offside that was just called just then. There's been moments that I think there's space in front of the Netherlands backline for England to exploit a little bit more. I think if they play forward with a little bit more urgency, they'll find that a little bit clearer. when they're coming from the opposite side, there's definitely space to switch the ball, because obviously, as we say, when the Netherlands are higher, they're in that sort of 2-2-2, which means the opposite side of the pitch is wide open for the likes of Anouk Denton and Chloe Sawi to really try and get on the ball and then get forward and break lines, add extra numbers in the box. I also think there's just got to be a few more runs in between and behind the back line, rather than these sort of 25-yard shots that are quite difficult to score from. I think there's runners there, then if you find those runners, it's a much easier chance from inside the box.
Speaking of shots, that shot early on from Eva Alde-Elbrink is pretty much the Netherlands' only good opportunity so far. Since then, it's been all England. Goodwin will be frustrated that she didn't score there. Probably the best chance of the match for either team. Obviously, Klinger hit the underside of the crossbar, but Klinger's effort slightly came out of nowhere. Near Enderby here, met by a really nice block by Moat Ruthers. England a threat from corners as well. Goldie heading over the bar. Enderby jinking inside, but too close to Rohina van Eyck. And then Klinger hitting the underside of the bar here, with van Eyck stranded. Clever first-time effort, knew exactly what she was trying to do, Eleanor Klinger.
Thanks.
Remember, of course, as well, that if you fancy something a little bit extra, you can head to englandfootball.com/participate, the greater game, where we use the power of football to improve your health and well-being, inspiring you to make at least one healthier action per week. You'll hear directly from stars such as Lauren Hemp, Ella Toone and Harry Kane, with tips to live a healthier lifestyle, as well as football coaches and players up and down the country, with regular content on how to eat well, move well, think well and sleep well. I'm sure that you'll want to subscribe, so head to England Football, the greater game, for more on that. Back to this game, and back underway. We'll have a good 3 minutes or so added on at the end of this first half to account for that drinks break. Fascinated to see how both teams tactically adjust from whatever instructions are being passed on. And I don't think you need to be a master tactician, seeing the Dutch coach at the bottom of your screen there, to know what the instruction has been to the Netherlands in that stoppage, in terms of wanting them to press higher up when England have got the ball. But England are progressing nicely regardless. It's Gunning-Williams. Plenty of support around her. Inside ball almost worked, and had it done so, there was real danger. Good advantage played by the referee. Carried well by Thomas. Pass back to her wasn't quite right. Gave the chance for Denton to steal in and win it back.
I think some good examples in that last little passage of play there to get out onto the right-hand side. Anouk Denton had lots of time and space. Ruby Mace made a great run, much better, thinking about getting those balls in behind, but with a little bit of quality, which I think, you know, England definitely have the capabilities to do that. You know, the pass was slightly misplaced, but the idea's there, and that's what you want to see.
England hunting a place in the final on Friday. Germany, the holders, they'll definitely be a new winner in this second season of this relatively newly created competition. Shabani came through the PSV Eindhoven system, as did plenty of this Dutch squad. It won't surprise you to know that the likes of PSV Zwolle, Ajax, AZ Alkmaar and PSV and Ajax are particularly well represented across the squad. Feyenoord as well. Sawi will get there first. She's playing at least, depending on how you want to define age group, 2 age groups up. And one thing that's really struck me commentating on the under-23s a few times is how comfortable Chloe Sawi looks at this level. This is someone who, if she keeps progressing as she does, she senses has a particularly bright future.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just the way that built up there, when she just defended in the corner and managed that and got there first, it actually come from Lena Gunning-Williams jumping out and Anouk Denton not being able to go with her, which then left them a little bit exposed. And so obviously she had quite a lot of work to do there to recover that space. And positionally, she's calm, she's aware, she's obviously recovering to make sure she wins the ball back. And I think, you know, given her age group, I think you're absolutely right. She doesn't look out of place whatsoever. She's excelling really playing against these style of players.
She does the small things quietly, very effectively, Chloe Sawi. That's no bad thing to have in any team, particularly for a fullback, with a minimum of fuss. Sawi here is doing also what is part of a fullback's modern job, which is to come in and effectively play what would be a centre mid once upon a time, and she almost found Goodwin. Chloe Sawi, who came on in the game a month ago, one of the youngest we'll see at this level. Has already been on the bench for Chelsea in the Women's Super League and UEFA Women's Champions League, and has made 4 sub-appearances as well. Made her Champions League debut as a 16-year-old. And the other thing that she's got in her favour that gets you in the team so often is she can play an attacking midfield, she can play all across that defensive line, seen by some as the future solution to England's potential problem around that left-back position.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of players, right-footed players playing at left-back, haven't we? You know, Niamh Charles has done a lot of that work. Jess Carter's played there in the past. You know, Alex Greenwood was moved out there. We all know she's a fantastic centre-back as opposed to your left-back. She could play there, obviously, but she's just been so good at centre-back position. You'd prefer to keep her there. Anouk Denton's played at left-back, you know, so it'd be great for the future of the game. It's just that balance, really, you know, having a left-footer on that side of the pitch.
Foul on Enderby. Who can forget, of course, Rachel Daly dancing around Wembley with her cowboy hat on after winning the Euros, having had that somewhat curious time where she was scoring goals regularly for Aston Villa as a forward whilst playing regularly as Serena Wiegman's left back, which is not something you see every day, but worked in the era in which it happened. But again, just illustrated that finding those natural left-footed left backs, there can be a bit of gold dust when you get them. Van Eyck has to be wary. Goodwin's charging her down. Now Frames. Gunning-Williams diligent on the press. England sensing an opportunity. Van Eyck again. He's dancing a bit of a tightrope there. Love to see a heart rate monitor for both her and her teammates at a couple of those moments, but part of the modern game that keepers are comfortable with the ball at their feet, even in their own 6-yard box.
Well, it gives you the extra player when the keepers are comfortable like that. You know, ultimately, what you're looking for in that as well is if the Netherlands are jumping out on the press, or in this instance, England are jumping on the press, especially you mentioned the size of the pitch, it's really difficult for England then to stay compact. So you want the goalkeepers to be looking maybe over, round, like through that press, because there'll be space in between lines a little bit higher up, especially on a big pitch, you know. So you want them to be comfortable to be able to pick those out when they receive those sorts of back passes. And then you eliminate a number of players, don't you, from the opposition, which then gives you more time and space on the ball.
Lost by Sawi in collision of bodies. Elbrink, is there a rare chance on the break for the Dutch, who've not had a lot to shout about going forward? On by Danique Nordman. Nordman, 1 of 4 in the starting lineup from Ajax. Already more than 100 appearances in the Dutch top flight. She's possibly the most experienced player on the park today. Certainly one of. Slightly careless pass though. Chance on the break for England. Enderby, so dangerous in places like this due to her pace and skill. Enderby still, it's Enderby, and it's so close. Onto the post from Rahina van Eyck. Nearly a magnificent solo goal from Mia Enderby.
Yeah, I think obviously what was really great about that, and she's done this a few times now, Lexi Potter, when she gets on it and looks up, she's very good at finding that space to play forward, and obviously Enderby had come into that pocket to receive off her, and it gave her space to run. but also I think sometimes you forget the movements that draw the space. So again, Isabel Goodwin's ran across to the left, her left, which has opened up that space.
Gunning-Williams used her body cleverly and now has a big chance. It's Gunning-Williams off the bar. England hit the woodwork for a second time in the game.
Great chance, and you know, I really like the fact that she was looking at the cross, she was looking for Isabel Goodwin, and then because she's pulled the centre half away, look at that movement from Isabel Goodwin. Gives herself space, makes it tough, but actually it also opened up a pocket for Lena Gunning-Williams to have a shot, and you know, outside of her right foot, really calm. It's a great chance, it's a great chance.
What a goal that would have been. Scored a header from Jess Simpson's cross in the 1-1 draw against the Dutch in Shrewsbury last month.
I think you can see there that, you know, the press of England being so high, it's now sort of making the Netherlands think about going over the press rather than playing short.
Just a little foul in there from Lexi Potter. Potter, one of the younger on this pitch today at 19, came through the Chelsea Academy, has already made 3 appearances for the senior team, but most of her senior experience came on loan with Crystal Palace last season, including getting her first professional goal for them on debut. Sari covering a cross. It's left the pass a little bit shorter and awkward and bouncing than Keating might have wanted it to be. Keating dealt with it regardless.
I think the Netherlands are just struggling to find forward passes that get them into those really attacking spaces. England's press is just really effective, and it's allowing them to pick up the bits of all of those moments. Elbrink there was almost getting towards the end of that, but she was against 2 and the goalkeeper, so they're just struggling to find the numbers higher up the pitch at the moment, the Netherlands, to cause England too many problems.
Yeah, we haven't got the stats in front of us, but that's a handball from Thomas, but in terms of possession and territory, both must be 60+% in England's favour.
Yeah, you'd think so.
The Dutch have not had a shot on target, not that I can remember anyway, even in the technical sense of, you know, just a tame effort that's a simple save for Keating. But it is ultimately 0-0. That's the most important stat of all. Klinger does get it inside. What a ball from Klinger. Enderby, Goodwin, almost queuing up for England there. Still there for England. Now the cross in. Goodwin got herself in a bit of an awkward position there. Didn't quite know what to do with that ball that came at a slightly curious height and went for a back header that just dribbles wide.
Yeah, it was difficult. It was fired in fairly quick, wasn't it? And it's quite low, as you say, so, you know, Isabel Goodwin's quite tall as well, so it's a bit of an awkward one to get on target there.
Burst onto the scene with a sensational season last time around as the London City Lionesses went up. Had the pleasure of commentating on that game on the final day against Birmingham City, where they needed a point to go up, and she scored an absolute screamer as they ultimately drew 2-2 and got the point that they needed to get promoted into the WSL. She's, as you would expect, found it tougher in a very crowded, well-resourced London City Lionesses side that is bought aggressively in this summer window to stay up to keep at quite the same level, but it's part of a team that have more than made their mark on the league.
Of course, yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's obviously it's important.
Strike from distance. Jade van Hensbergen just decided that with the Dutch getting so little sight of Keating's goal, might as well have a go, but always looked like it was sailing over.
Yeah, I think she's caught that well, by the way, but it's as you say, it's too high, but just a turnover of possession there. We got caught out a little bit in wide areas there, England, and she's just got too much time and space there to get that shot off. So obviously with the quality that she has, it's just something that, you know, it's going to be difficult to beat Keating from that range, you know, with the qualities that she has. But maybe a bit of a momentum changer, a little bit more positivity, because as you said, they've not really had a lot of space for these shots.
Van Hensbergen tackle, just to slow the attack. The Dutch looking for what will be a bit of a sucker punch just before half-time, having been second best across a lot of this half. It's a rare spell of possession for the Netherlands in England's half. Van Uden. Trying to turn was Thomas, was met fiercely, a little too fiercely in the end by Ruby Mace.
Yeah, I think they have to start to be a bit more aggressive, the Netherlands here, though, because, as you say, we've probably cursed that as well, because we were saying they hadn't had a lot of possession, and then this has actually looked like their most sort of aggressive, positive spell, actually, these last couple of minutes. And I think they've just got to move the ball quicker in order to create problems for England, because they've just not really been too disrupted, have they, up until this point.
In comes the free kick, nodded back across goal, and it needed a crucial foot on it, but wouldn't have counted anyway.
That's good recovery from Mia Enderby, tracking her player in that situation there to make sure she didn't get contact.
I think at the end of this half, they're going to have about maybe 3-4 minutes added on. The drinks break's been the only real stoppage. So still a little bit of time left for either team to pinch a lead before the break. Slightly heavy touch from Denton, and now England are under pressure in transition. One back by Mace. Crucial touch in there from Van Hensberg. Good spell this for the Dutch. Speculative strike from Danique Noordman.
Yeah, again, it's just those little bits, starts to shift momentum a little bit, doesn't it? So you're absolutely right with what you said. You know, England need to get hold of it a little bit more now before these last couple of minutes. The last thing they want is, given the amount of possession and domination they've had in the first half, for the Netherlands to get something out of this in the last couple of minutes.
Noordman. Just a couple of minutes plus stoppages left. Can either side pinch a lead in a contest that historically has been so tight? The last 4 meetings between these teams have been draws, 3 of them 1-1. And a goalless draw as well.
I think a head injury there. They just collided there, Taya Goldie, and
it's Van Buyeren.
Yeah, Van Buyeren, just as they were going through on that ball. I don't really know what happened, but she held her head immediately, so hopefully she's okay.
Yes. It's Goldie's outstretched right hand, just trying to stop the run of Jet Van Buyeren that has caused the problem. Hopefully this isn't quite as serious as it initially looks for the AZ Alkmaar striker. Previously at Heerenveen, and then left for AZ Alkmaar last year. Plenty of options on the bench in a forward sense. Probably looking most likely, I would say, at Sophie de Brakker or Ilse Kemper. Depends on quite how the Netherlands would want to rearrange. And of course, all this time will be added back on at the end of this first half.
Yeah, overall, I think England have done a good job, you know, to manage the lion's share of it, the possession, the chances that they've had, albeit, you know, thinking maybe there's an opportunity to create a few more just clear-cut chances, but then, you know, there's been a good save from Van Eyck, obviously, that pushed onto the bar. Isabel Goodwin had a great chance, crossbar, Lena Gunning-Williams, you know, so I think in terms of domination, it's probably been a good first half for Lydia Bedford to talk about come half-time. And it's just maybe that cutting edge, that little bit of ruthlessness around the box now that England need a bit more of.
Yeah, when we do get to half-time, we'll have full run through of highlights from the first half and be pulling out a few of those clips for analysis, so don't be going too far when we get to the break. This was the head injury. You would have seen a minimum of 2 minutes added on at the back end of this first half. Thankfully, it looks like somewhat gingerly, yet Van Buyeren is back to her feet. Of course, it will always be in the back of a player's mind at a moment like this that if she can just get through to half-time, there's another 15 minutes for it to be looked at, but depending on HIA concussion protocols and what the medical staff assess, that may well be taken out of her hands anyway.
Yeah, it seems like she's been caught in the eye based on her reaction, which obviously, you know, I don't know if it was an elbow or hand, like you say. It's just she's sort of wincing a little bit there, which is tough. But yeah, look, you know, every player wants to play, right? So I'm sure she'll be straight back on and then do what she needs to do at half-time.
So the Netherlands will be temporarily down to 10 when we restart. Worth reminding you again, of course, plenty of time for either side to find a way through, but if we are level at 90 minutes, then we go straight to spot kicks. No extra time. Fighting for a spot in the final on Friday, which, regardless of whether England are playing in the final or the third place playoff, we can tell you the kickoff will be, for those watching in the UK, 12 p.m. British summertime. If you're watching elsewhere in the world, great to have your company. You can set your clocks based off that if you wish to see the young Lionesses in action. The final will be here at the Murcia Stadium in Murcia. The third place playoff game will be at the Pinatar Arena. Maybe England can get that goal that their pressure deserves right before half-time. They've probably got ballpark a minute or so, you might say.
Yeah, possibly a few more seconds due to that, but not long. But obviously there's an opportunity to be a little bit more positive with forward passes still there from Anouk Denton.
Nice link up play by Van Byron, who's back on the pitch, so it's 11 versus 11. Thomas sends it forward, and Nordman, so good at escaping out of tight jewels, and has done it there. Maybe there's something here for the Dutch. Crossfield ball, lots of space for Thomas. It's still Thomas. And a wall of England shirts does just enough to repel her.
Really good play from Thomas. Just, you know, just really composed in her dribble there to sort of fake the ball across and then cut back inside. And it obviously created a few problems there for England, but then lots of bodies set in central areas to protect the goal, so it didn't amount to anything. But again, just creeping up the pace and the intensity, the Netherlands, aren't they, at the moment before half-time?
Still time for the free kick. And that is half-time here, a half that England can take plenty of positives from in Lydia Bedford's first game in charge of the under-23s. But despite hitting the woodwork twice, ultimately, firstly through Eleanor Klinger and secondly through Mia Enderby's shot that was pushed onto the post, they haven't quite found a way through in this semi-final. An intriguing second half coming after first half analysis, which will be happening shortly. But at half-time here in Murcia, it's England under-23s 0, the Netherlands 0. So 0-0 at half-time, but Lydia Bedford, I'd imagine, putting your coach's hat on that you wear so frequently, Rianne Skinner, would be, for the most part, from a performance basis, pretty pleased with that, but England not quite ruthless enough.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think England have dominated the game. I think there's been great opportunities to get shots off. A couple of crossbars, good header from Taya Goldie goes just across, forced Van Eyck to make a good save. I just think they need to be a little bit more clinical, and it's maybe just a conversation about a bit more composure, find the more clear-cut chances. But actually, I think, you know, overall, you should be really pleased with the way it's looked.
Let's have a look at those first half highlights then. England with plenty of pressure. They were consistently knocking on the door, weren't they? But this actually was, to be honest, what proved to be the Dutch's only real chance of the half until the back end. Eva Alde-Elbrink with an audacious attempt to score. But after that, it was all England.
Absolutely, and I mean, that's the ball there from Anouk Denton. This was a fantastic chance, great running behind. The timing of that pass from Len Gunning-Williams is superb. I mean, it's a real, you know, that's the types of chances you'd put as high a chance to take as possible. And for me, just the wrong decision on which foot to use for Isabel Goodwin's benefit, really.
England kept pressing, though, and Mia Enderby here forcing a brilliant block by Mark Rutters. Textbook fullback stuff, and nothing really Enderby could do about that, but appreciate what was some good covering defence.
Absolutely, and I think Lexi Potter put a couple of balls in advance like that. This is a great chance movement from Taya Goldie off the front, and I think just a really good header into a key space that gave England another good chance. England
kept pressing, and Goodwin here with a shot that was blocked, then fell to Gunning-Williams, who teed up Klinger, who it was a cheeky, wasn't even a lob, just kind of a guide in towards that far corner that was oh so close.
I think it's great technique, by the way. It's just really calm, just putting a little bit of curl on it, creating an opportunity, and again, there's a couple of crossbars, that's one of them.
Yeah, England really did keep asking all the questions. Enderby forcing that save from Van Eyck, and it's a splendid save because that camera angle doesn't quite show you the athleticism that Van Eyck has shown there. That shot from Enderby is almost perfect, and then Leonard Gunning-Williams, well, this is swaggerlicious. This is all the flair. This is everything that you'd love to see from a young player fearlessly expressing themselves. Gunning-Williams almost scoring a goal that I think we'd have been talking about that for a long old while had that gone in. Yeah, it was delightful, really, wasn't it? So I think there was some really good chances there. I think some of the balls through from Lexi Potter, the work that Lena Gunning-Williams has done, I think she's been quite instrumental in the best chances that have been created there. But there's been a couple of little bits where England haven't followed through on those shots, and it's a little bit reactive. Well, you might get a little tap in from that. So again, that ruthlessness piece is you have to be ready to get on the end of anything and just create something if it doesn't go in straight away. Let's take a look back at those two occasions where England did hit the woodwork, which were probably their two closest times to breaking the deadlock in the first half. The first from Klinger, what a way this would have been to get her first goal for the England under-23s.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, you know, the point I'm making here, it's a good shot, but England are watching. That if that comes back into play or the keeper makes a save, England need to be the first ones to react to that. There was an opportunity to play Lexi Potter through, made a great little run into the box as well. So it's just those final balls to help make the chances really good, because that's a difficult chance for Klinger, by the way. That's really tough.
And Enderby finding the post in a very different way with that low shot that brings a solid save from Van Eyck. It's pretty good football all round, really.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And again, we just not quite there for the rebounds, the save from the keeper off the post, and there you know, obviously that doesn't stay in play, that one, but I just like how confident she is. She goes against the run of the defender to create space for herself and have that opportunity.
Yeah, I actually mentioned the two times England hit the woodwork. Of course, it's three, so many that I'd lost count, but it again illustrates England's dominance in that first half, because really the Netherlands haven't had a shot on target of note. By contrast, as we're seeing now, England had plenty of other chances too.
Well, this is it. I mean, as I said, in this one for me, the way that it's coming across, the pressure's coming from Isabel Goodwin's right-hand side where the defender is and the goalkeeper. So if that's a contact on her left foot, the goalkeeper's not going to be able to make a save. She's not going to get there by the time she makes the contact. So it's just those little edges. This one here, obviously Mia Enderby, she's come in. We just saw Lena Gunning-Williams. She chops that back. And obviously Rutgers is going to keep going there, and actually that's a shot on her right foot there. So just those little moments, I think, for England, it's just that little bit of finesse in the key moments, but across the pitch it's been great.
And of course, another thing to remember, both for you at home in analysing, and I know they're aware of it in the England camp, is these are very new combinations that are forming. This is a team that there's 6 changes from the last time they played last month. There's plenty of changes in the squad. So a lot of these players, they might know the broad system that England age groups use through the years, which loosely translates to a 4-3-3, but actually that familiarity with who's around you, who's in front of you, alongside you and next to you is not quite there.
No, I think that's the hardest part of international football, to be honest, because you play in your club environment, you build those connections, you know people's runs, you know their body languages and the cues and things like that. And then obviously you get quite a short turnaround before you play in these sorts of games, and you have to kind of figure that out again really quickly with those teams. That's the hardest part of international football, is that gelling quickly. There's been some real positives.
I know, Rianne, you've picked out a few particular points that you thought were worthy of analysis on a further level. Just talk us through it.
Well, it's a little bit scrappy in that first bit there, but if you just look at where all of the Dutch players are at this point, they're almost in line with the referee. And at this point here, when it comes into the inside space, Ruby Mace, if you look how much space is on the opposite side of the pitch, England can utilise that a lot more. And this clip here, it actually evolves where they find Chloe Sawa. You can see her on the opposite side there. When England find this opportunity and then really positive, look how quick she's looking to get forward, that then is the areas that they can get forward, and it's just that final ball to Isabel Goodwin that we need a bit better.
So a lot of good things from England in that first half and a lot of promising signs, and they have hit the woodwork 3 times, to be clear. Now can they convert that into some goals to see them into the final on Friday? We'll see you for the second half shortly. So half-time here in Murcia, and we are 45 minutes or so from possible penalties. 0-0 at the break between the England under-23s and the Netherlands under-23s. The young Lionesses versus young Orange, as they say in Dutch. And England now, of course, attacking from left to right. As we look at things, the Netherlands kicking from right to left here in Murcia. A dominant first half from England, hitting the woodwork not once, not twice, but 3 times through Eleanor Klinger, Mia Enderby, and also Lena Gunning-Williams. But now England hoping to finally turn that pressure into something. The Dutch, I'm sure, after a half-time regroup, will be determined to have a stronger say in this contest after a first half where they didn't really have an effective shot on target.
No, and I think they've set the intent a little bit there, Netherlands, straight away at the start of that game. So when we were talking about it in the first half, we said, there's opportunity for Lena Gunning-Williams getting forward.
Gunning-Williams with a perfect pass for Goodwin. It's Goodwin, and it's 1-0 England.
What fantastic timing. Straight after the restart, you know, and actually Netherlands just looked quite positive in the run that they were making forward. And Lena Gunning-Williams picked it up like she did in the first half, actually, and started to travel. And we said in that game, you know, in the first half, Isabel Goodwin's like pulling players away, which opens up space for other players. And this time, it's allowed her to receive it. And it's a fantastic strike across the keeper as well, which has made it really difficult for Van Eyck.
The timing of the pass from Gunning-Williams made sure there was no question of offside against Goodwin, who is making a happy knack of being a consistent scorer for England through the age groups.
Yeah, she does well because, you know, they have stepped up there, but Rutgers is playing her onside. And you're right, that the timing of that pass just to the outside, she's committed the defender there, Lena Gunning-Williams, by coming inside. And it's a really strong finish across goal. We've seen her do that loads of times, Goodwin. It's a great strike. I think the keeper's probably got to do a little bit better in terms of getting herself a bit bigger to be able to make that block.
It's a 4th goal for the England under-23s in her 7th appearance for Izzy Goodwin. And having dominated the first half but got no reward for it, England on target with, made it around 48 seconds of the second half. And now the Dutch have got to respond to that, albeit they can continue, if they wish, this rather almost spooky trend. 3 games in a row where England have led 1-0, where the Dutch have equalised in stoppage time. But this game, even if that were to repeat itself, would have something beyond it, because it would not be just a friendly, of course. We'd need to find a winner, so we would go to penalties.
I think the thing that the Netherlands are trying to do, I said, you know, with Anouk Denton and Lena Gunning-Williams jumping out quite high, they're putting a player in the pocket, which is causing Anouk Denton a problem, stopping her from being able to jump out. And that player then can run in between Hannah Silcock and Anouk Denton if Ruby Mace doesn't get across fast enough. They've just done it twice. It's not escalated into anything just yet, but it's this little pocket here where they've obviously just got on the ball, the Netherlands.
Van Uden. Twisting and turning. Now does get the cross in. It's one back in there by the Netherlands through Frames, and the ball through almost worked out for either Elbrink or Thomas.
It's a good move from the Netherlands. When they've come inside, the timing of their runs in between the defenders for England there was excellent. And fortunately, Chiara Keating, look at the timing of that run, it's fantastic. Chiara Keating was alert to it. It's really important.
Keating, of course, with Manchester City at club level, has almost a half-century of WSL appearances, but in more recent times has lost that club spot to Ayaka Yamashita. Was in the Euros 2025 squad at senior level. Will be pushing for a spot in that World Cup squad next year. One back by Goodwin. And now England can play off that, chasing the comfort of a second goal. Enderby.
Slightly too big of a touch there, has just let her down, Enderby, but Sawi being able to pick up the bits from the goal kick clearance there. no foul given.
Game getting quite open at both ends in transition. Effort from distance, and Keaton can deal with it quite easily. Denton. Denton, who's one of a few in this England squad who play their club football outside of the UK, not so long ago moving to AFC, having come through the Arsenal system and then built the bulk of her senior experience at West Ham. Made her England debut last year against Ghana. Of course, handy through her versatility. I know it's one thing they really drum into players right through the England age groups. If you can play at least 2 positions really effectively, you give yourself such a higher chance of getting those valuable minutes at both club and international level.
I think when you go into major tournaments, you need to know that you've got the depth in the squad to get through. And, you know, Rachel Daly played multiple positions throughout her career, and obviously was a part of that first Euros winning team as a left back, having been playing it as a number 9, you know.
Rachel Daly's left back era, some might call it. Hurriedly away by England. The Dutch have responded really well to going a goal behind here. They've dominated possession and threat in the 6 minutes or so. This, well, 5 minutes or so since Izzy Goodwin had the ball in the net. Forward by Frames, intercepted by Silcock. England will be all too aware from their last 3 experiences against the Dutch. All 1-1 draws in which they had led, about the importance of getting the second goal. Slightly heavy touch from Hensbergen, who had plenty of company. Sawi is down. It's not a head injury, so the ref won't stop play. England chose to play on, so the Netherlands are well within their rights to choose to play on here, and they do. Gunning-Williams wins it back. Now the referee will bring things back. 17-year-old is down. Hopefully nothing too bad for Chloe Sawi, who's had another very tidy game down the left flank for England.
Yeah, I think she had a collision just when she was trying to recover into shape. Maybe with Elvering, just as she was coming across her. So two players clashed, and she just seems like maybe she got stood on or just rolled her ankle a little bit. But definitely they came together when she was recovering into shape. She seems to be okay.
Yeah, discomfort, but nothing quite to the extent to take her off, it looks like. Just taking a moment to recompose herself. That nod and this sort of smile is the clue, I think, that it was okay. Nice moment from Eva Alde-Elbrink, who just comes across and checks on her. Van Byron does get the pass away. Frains. Won back by Mace, who was using all of her physicality to good effect there against Van Byron. And then held off the challenge as well of Nordman, had plenty of company in there and drew the foul. She's quite the all-round footballer, Ruby Mace. It's come a long, long way. I mentioned it in the first half. For those who followed women's football for a long time, it does feel like she's been around forever for someone who's still playing for the under-23s.
Yeah, she's gained a lot of experience, Ruby Mason. You know, to be honest, I think it's a compliment if you're getting 3 players trying to get the ball off you, you know. So physically, I think she's always been really, really tough customer. And I think that stands her in good stead, because obviously there's parts of the game you just need to be able to mix it with that type of element of your game. And I think she holds her own in that setting really, really well, which is probably why she's been playing senior football for so long.
She's been captaining the under-23s for quite a lot of this season. I know her physicality and her physical presence is one of the big things that has had her playing seniors quite so young. As Rianne Skinner alongside me alluded to, you'd have coached a fair few teams over the years that would have had to deal with her either at centre-back or more recently in central defensive midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because as you say, she's been around quite a long time for such a young player, which I think has gained her loads and loads of experience at senior level. But you know, she's obviously done really well to make sure she's playing in the WSL regularly. And one of the things we mentioned before is just getting exposure to that. And she's one of the ones in this team that's probably had the most exposure.
And she's got that physical presence about her. You know, when you see her in physical duels, you sense, I know there was 77,000 at Twickenham for England's Six Nations opener in the rugby at the weekend against Ireland. You sense Ruby Mace, if she was thrust into that, she'd probably hold her own.
Well, I think there's a tenacity in her mentality as well, which, you know, is something that
a fearlessness.
You can't really coach, to be honest. You know, you can't want players to want to be physical and to want to, you know, put the bodies on the line. They kind of have that or they don't. And I think certain positions really require you to be really brave in that sense. And she's definitely got that to her game for sure.
Yeah, if there's ever a Red Roses Lionesses crossover, she'll be front and centre. Hannah Silcock is down, so another injury delay here. Yeah, just on the note of Mace, one of my first memories of her was commentating on a WSL match played at St George's Park in COVID, where Arsenal beat Birmingham City, and she was on loan at Birmingham. Carla Ward reportedly had to give Arsenal boss Joe Montemurro a bottle of wine to convince him to allow Mace to play against a parent club. And you might have thought, you know, defender, I think she was 16 at the time, against a star-studded Arsenal team for a struggling Birmingham City side. You might be a bit fearful. And within the first 10 minutes of the game, she was absolutely flying into Viviana Miedemar on repeated occasions. And it was just one of those images, it stuck with a lot of people who were at that game that day, of just was the youngest player on the pitch by quite a distance, and was like, no, you're going to have to deal with me today. And Arsenal did win the game comfortably in the end, but Mace was one of Birmingham City's best players that day, and I know it really impressed and left a mark on a lot of our Arsenal teammates. Here's Gunning Williams, England chasing a second. Sets it back, and England patiently work it out to Denton. Nordman got a slight touch on it, but it's worked out well for Denton. Almost slipped the pass through. Thomas gets the free kick.
Quickly taken there with England out of shape, reorganising. They're a little bit more stretched now as well, England. Just need to recover and regain that shape to force the Netherlands to play around them when they can really set up to be aggressive on the press. They're just creeping into those pockets there, elbowing, you know, just going into that area where the midfield aren't quite getting across. Lexi Potter, Ruby Mace, just got to watch for those spaces. The centre-half can't step in there, it's too far when they've already got players. So it's just something that you can tell they're trying to exploit a little bit since the start of this half.
Yeah, it's well spotted, and it's exacerbated even more by the size of this pitch. This is a pitch that both in length and width is on the bigger end of things compared to what a lot of these players will be used to playing on. And so trying to get your spacing and your gaps becomes more difficult as well, adjusting to that. Referee trying to let play go on, but eventually will bring it back. He wanted to give Silcock the advantage, and then Van Byron with a second foul made sure that there wasn't going to be any.
I think the pitch size, without sort of, you know, talking about it too much in relation to the context of all of this game, but it is relevant. You know, we used to, in club football, the variety in the pitches in the WSL, we used to change the size of our training pitch because you actually need to prepare for the distances that you need to cover defensively and that you can exploit from an attacking perspective. And when it's small and tight, it's almost a false sense of security on your defending. And then you go and play at one of the bigger stadiums in the league, and all of a sudden you don't feel like you can get near the ball, and it is relevant to the overall game.
Yeah, for those curious, there are minimum and maximums on the regulations as that's sent long and Keating hammers it clear. But the difference in sort of overall area between the biggest and the smallest can be up to around the 20% mark, which is absolutely enormous as a difference.
Yeah, it does make a difference, and I think when you feel like you're really closely connected and things are going well, and you know, then great. But then you change pitch size and you feel like nobody's anywhere near you. It's an awkward feeling.
Given away to Eva Alde Elbrink, who gets it across. Big chance for 1-1 and a big challenge from Chloe Sawi. That is magnificent. Goal-saving tackle after England put themselves in trouble when they didn't need to.
The recovery there from Chloe Sawi is absolutely outstanding. I mean, the turnover, obviously, it's basically put England in a 2v1 situation. It's so tough for a centre-half. So, obviously, Taya Goldie recognises the pressure there from Van Beeren in the middle, and it's really difficult for her to manage that area, but Chloe Sawi recovering in is absolutely fantastic top work from a fullback.
Hensbergen. It's now the Dutch's turn to hand their opponent an attacking chance. Goodwin's ball forward blocked. Van Uden will get there. An hour gone. Intriguing to see how both teams use their benches here. Neither have gone there yet. It's the Netherlands who particularly have to force the issue, of course. Sawi steps in and wins it. Anticipated that, read it like a book. Might just go herself here. She does eventually, almost reluctantly so, Chloe Sawi. Straight at Rohina van Eyck.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough movement across defenders for her to see, really, to be able to kind of create a good crossing or passing option inside the box, which is tough for her. Obviously, she did a fantastic interception and got forward really positively there, but just need a little bit more connection in that final third in and around the box to help there to create the best chance.
England looking for the nerve settler of a second goal. Held up by Elbrink. Frames. Waited in behind for Elbrink, and Goldie goes back. Keating a bit uncertain, but offside against Elbrink.
A couple of balls direct in behind now from the Netherlands have forced England to make some difficult decisions, and just a couple of minutes ago the one came over the top again. Chiara Keating was in a great position to clear up the bits there, and I think that's the good thing about this England team. They're able to trust that they can give her the ball back as well.
Changes coming for the Dutch. Sjade van Hensbergen of Ajax, primarily plays in the youth level rather than the senior team, takes her leave. And it's part of a double switch as well. Emma Frains makes way. Also, Kemper comes on. I would expect that Kemper will be a straight swap for Frains at left back, and Sophie van Vugt is also on, and I would think she'd be a straight swap in attacking midfield. Here come England on the break. Just dragged wide by Enderby, who seemed in two minds as to whether to cross or shoot.
I think the breakaway there was just, again, on the breakaway, England is so positive, so direct. It's definitely a strength to this particular team. It's a difficult angle from where she is to get that on target across the goal. Maybe it's just those little runs in between where it's just a ball put in and around the 6-yard line that actually creates more of a central opportunity for England, because the angle there is so difficult to get your shot on target.
So the Dutch have got 3 changes left up their sleeve. England still have a full complement of 5. It does seem to be very much the modern era that one team goes first and makes a double change and the other one follows swiftly afterwards with a double change of their own, or some kind of alteration. Goodwin across. Cleared for now. Shabani. It's Nordmann, in fact, battling. Ball there to be won, and won by Elbrink with a really clever touch around the corner, and that was a cynical foul that will bring the first yellow card of the game. Potter making sure that that counter-attack was going to be stopped, and gets a yellow card for her troubles.
Yeah, just to come in together, really. I think, you know, you just try and make sure that you're not going to expose yourself in those moments, and it's just a tactical decision from Lexi Potter that slows down the Netherlands. Just need to probably calm the game down a little bit, England. You know, this is a good opportunity for Keating to just slow it down a little bit, key spaces to be able to play out now. A little bit closer support because Anouk Denton's got quite a lot to do there with no one. That's a good decision, though. It's just take the sting out of it for a couple of minutes.
And of course, it's England that don't necessarily have to take the risks here. They've got that lead thanks to Izzy Goodwin's goal. Wouldn't be the first time she scored the winner for the under-23s. Got the only goal in a 1-0 win against Norway back in November of 2024, and it's Goodwin's pressure there that wins England the throw, gets them up the pitch.
Just need a little bit more movement here, England, to be able to create an opportunity to retain possession.
Real wrestle in that corner that England have come out the better of. Hurried clearance from Rutgers. It's been a game that's been a little more in transition and had a little bit less structure about it than in the first half, which I guess we probably expected given the heat and the playing surface that's on the bigger side of things. And that allows space for players like this to do their thing. Gunning-Williams, so dangerous on that threat in behind. Ball inside was well timed for Denton, who almost got through.
I think it's a great run from Denton. Really good spot from Gunning-Williams, but Denton's got to take that with her in the box to create something there.
Sawi to strike one. Too close to Van Eyck.
She felt like she was fouled when she made contact there, but difficult to tell. See, the overload on this side now, if you see there's 4 players out this side, and then Gunning-Williams and Anouk Denton are managing those 4. It's actually harder this half for England to get pressure on because of the pocket space that the Netherlands are trying to exploit. So we're seeing England a lot deeper this half than what we did in the first half as a result of that.
Sawi eventually does get the foul given in her favour. England starting a new era here today, of course, with Lydia Bedford in charge. She becomes just the 6th person to take permanent charge of this England under-23 side in their history, albeit the exact age group has slightly oscillated through history. At times it's been an under-21s team or an under-20s team, but it is a small list of coaches, all of whom deserve their place in history as having made a big impact on developing future Lionesses. Liz Deegan from 1987 to 92, Brent Hills for around a decade, Marion Spacey-Kale from 2013 to 2018, Mo Marley did it for 5 years, and then Emma Coates for a couple before going to AFC. And Bedford right now, with a quarter of this game left, will be quietly hopeful that her side are on their way to win a place in the final and a clean sheet to start her reign.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 20s is obviously when it's a World Cup year, so that's when it kind of flexes. When I was doing it, it was a 21s group, and, you know, it was that kind of in-between phase when players, sometimes some of the seniors that would come into that for game minutes, but not very many, you know, so it's definitely fluctuated, but ultimately the 23s give such a broader age group that actually you can just get your best players from a 4-year age band into the same team, which, you know, at the time at England we felt was really, really important to expose the best of the best in those age groups. So that enabled it to be a little bit more open. And that's why there's, you know, younger players coming up, Chloe Sawi, up to the older ones in the age group, which will be more towards Anouk Denton's age.
Shabani. Recycled for the substitute, Kemper. Is there something here for the Dutch? Nordman. Nordman's cross. Just needed a far post runner. No foul from Shabani. Too close to Keating. Simple stuff for Kiara Keating, who you can see, like almost any goalkeeper after an extended spell of pressure, the moment she's got her hands on the ball, has plenty to say about not being quite happy with England's defence.
Yeah, I think just off the ball there, again, she's showing a bit of maturity in her gameplay, Chloe Sawi, because when that ball came into the far post, She just nudged a player enough to stop her from getting up to make contact with that cross. Again, just really clever back post defending, and you know, for a young player, it's just a bit of game intelligence really that did a good job there and stopped it from being something more threatening.
Ball slipped in behind, has too much on it for Elbrink. England edging closer towards a spot in the final against Norway or Sweden. Denton with a fantastic first touch that opens the pitch right up for her. Wanted the 1-2. Referee plays a good advantage. Gunning Williams. And still Gunning Williams. With the cutback. Didn't get it to Goodwin. Vital foot on it from Klinger. Denton.
I think the challenge has been, if you know, when Denton gets the ball, then it was similar in just that bit before there. There's only one person in the box, and it's Mia Enderby on the opposite side of the pitch. So difficult to get those balls with any kind of realistic quality across to that sort of area. Just think England need to be a little bit more threatening, a little bit higher when they're in the final third of the pitch. More threat to the back line, looking for little runs in between, but instead they're coming off the front still, a little bit like they were in the first half. So for me as a centre half, if you're in front of me, I don't have to worry because I know exactly where you are all the time. And that's the bit really where Lena Gunning Williams gets some success because she tries to play on the last shoulder of people as well quite a lot.
Fantastic tracking back there, speaking of Gunning Williams, to get back and successfully slide in. Changes coming for England. Layla Harbour is ready to come on, as does Lexi Lloyd-Smith, and we have reached that sort of unofficial drinks break that we had in the first half as well for player welfare reasons because of the heat here in Murcia. And I reckon after we've had that, the double England change may well be forthcoming. Chance for England to regroup. For the Netherlands, interesting to see what we might get here to try and push on and for a fourth time in a row find a equalising goal to make it 1-1 against England in a fixture between these two teams that would take us to a penalty shootout. Lydia Bedford passing on instructions. She did a detailed interview that you can go and read about on the England football website about her pride at taking the job, about carrying all of her various experiences at club and international level into this new role, and about so much more in her coaching journey that now brings her to being in charge of this under-23s team, which was established in 2008, responding to age-level changes FIFA made to the oldest women's youth competition, being the under-19s and under-20s. Brent Hills explained that that made it a greater challenge to break into the seniors. Hills said, when I started, if you were an extremely talented 18-year-old, you might have been able to get in the senior team, but it's pretty tricky now. You'd have to be the next Kelly Smith to be able to do that. Lena Gunning Williams and Lexi Potter are the two to have made way, and as expected, it is coming on Lexi Lloyd-Smith, and alongside her, Layla Harbour. Gunning Williams can be pretty happy with her day's work. Very nearly scored the opening goal, and Lexi Potter's been nice and tidy in central midfield.
Both positions, straight swaps. So Lexi Lloyd-Smith's come out on the right-hand side for Lena Gunning Williams, which again, you know, similar players in terms of very direct, like to dribble, like to get in behind. So you'd expect still some opportunities for England to get real threats in these wide right areas.
England just sitting at a little bit deeper, hoping to manage their way through the last part of this game. Elbrink on the turn. Did manage to get it across. Needed a boot clear on it. Bruthers comfortably overhit, and that hands England some breathing space.
I think it'll be good to see what Layla Harbert can bring to the team as well. She's not had a lot of club minutes this year, so I think it'll be good for her to get into this team to obviously show what she's capable of in and around these England squads. Obviously this game and the next game are going to be really important ones for England at this age group.
Yeah, probably not one of the better known names in this England under-23s squad, Layla Harbert, because of not making that senior breakthrough yet as much as others, but certainly a talented player to keep an eye out on. Has really built her experience across a series of loans at Watford, Southampton, the Portland Thorns and Everton as well, having come through the Arsenal youth system, and has played 5 games in the NWSL for Portland, as well as coming through the England age group ranks. Chance for the Dutch to create something. Still haven't really tested Kiara Keating all game. Maybe that can change here. Ticked on by Van Byron. Elbrink. England just have to be a little careful here of sitting too deep and inviting pressure. Kemper. Lloyd Smith, who's only just come on, helped get it to Mace. That's late and clumsy from Van Byron.
It's been a few little bits from Van Byron, isn't it? A couple of little frustrations. Just pulls Hannah Silcock there. She's not really going anywhere, so I think there's probably just a little bit of that last 15 minutes creeping in with 1 or 2 players for the Netherlands. But when they've looked to try and play forward and maintain possession with a bit of quality, they've shown a real intent to try and find those little clever passes through England. Just not had a good opportunity, as so to speak, as yet.
There's no doubt you are watching future Lionesses in action here. When you think of the fact that you look back to 3 years ago, the likes of Jess Naz, Aggie Beaver-Jones, Laura Blinkiller-Brown, Grace Clinton, Missy Beaucairns were in action for the England under-23s. Great chance to discover new talent in action here. Elbrink with the foul. And this is exactly what England will want. A chance after absorbing a bit of pressure just to, well, with the handball, in fact, beg your pardon, just to try and give the Netherlands a problem and maybe even pinch a second goal to make this last part a bit less nervy.
Just really important as well for England to stay focused on, sometimes you can get a little bit squeaky about only being 1 goal in front, but actually with the dominance that they've had within the game, you only need to win by 1, and with the little bits of frustration, we just saw it there. Elbrink, obviously she created a bit of a foul there with Taya Goldie, and it's just that little bit of frustration. So obviously from that side of things, England just need to manage that a little bit and not get drawn into it, basically.
The Dutch rapidly running out of time as Sir Kemper manages to win the throw. It's not a great pass, and Kemper has fought hard to keep possession, but then only gives it straight to Sawi. In fact, beg your pardon, Hannah Silcock. Silcock at Birmingham City on loan from Liverpool since January, having also played at Blackburn Rovers. Lloyd Smith trying to turn away, but lost it to Van Uden. Free kick in a dangerous area. Mace with the foul.
a little bit scrappy, isn't it, at the moment? A little bit both ways. Neither team's really sort of controlling it in the way that they probably want at the moment. It's just important to ride that out for England and do the things that they were doing well. You know, obviously, Lexi Lloyd-Smith being on this right-hand side now is a good opportunity for her to use her pace. You know, she's got pace, she's direct, she's very good at dribbling. I think that's an opportunity to get at Frains, at Kemper a little bit more, who's come on as the left-back, to see what England can get out that side of the pitch. But it's just an important one to keep control of what's going on in this free kick. Not give away anything cheaply.
Chance for the equaliser. It's flicked away and then smashed clear, but the pressure remains firmly on England. Dutch have got just one change left after that double substitution. It's lost in a dangerous area. Kruse with her first touches since coming on. It was begging for a finish, but couldn't quite thread it through for an orange shirt. Run out by Lloyd-Smith. Confirmation of those changes. Keelan Thomas and Anissa Shabani making way. Zira Hulsvik and Fika Kruse on. And England making two changes of their own. Eleanor Klinger, who, with that cheeky attempted guide into the top corner, almost got her first goal at this level, takes her leave. So both teams have just one change left up their sleeve across the rest of the 90 minutes plus stoppages. And Jessie Gale and Olivia McLaughlin come on. Izzy Goodwin off as well. I'm sure there'll be an element of minutes managing with the fact that there is a game coming on Friday as well. Of course, the big question is, will it be a final or a third place playoff?
I think it's always probably not talked about loads actually, but that's a good ball out wide to Lexi Lloyd-Smith looking to cross. Great opportunity to get reset for a corner now. It looked difficult, that cross, but obviously player that's come on for the Netherlands at left back, Kemper, just a great block to stop that from going into a danger area.
How England would love a second. Just as the wind whips up, if they can get a good delivery in here, this could be quite awkward to defend. Mace to deliver. All the bodies would suggest it's going in the 6-yard box. Maybe it's a double bluff. Mace not with her best corner, and suddenly Netherlands might have fancied their chances on the counter-attack, but run out of play by Zira Hulsvik.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure the idea behind that one. There was a third player on the ball side there. That was in and around the edge of the box. I think it might have been Layla Harbert, but obviously the back side of the box was completely open, so it's difficult for England to defend that as well on a turnover. So again, it just comes down to the quality of those set play deliveries are so important in games.
England just looking to manage their way through the last part of this game. Gale got her feet slightly in a tangle, but all's well that ends well for England. They have a corner. Oh, beg your pardon, goal kick. Intercepted by Sawi. Yeah, England have not quite found that dominance of the game that they had in the first half. It's been an even game since then, and a game where neither side has had real control of possession or territory for any long period of time, ever since Goodwin scored.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's been, you know, a couple of minutes for England, a couple of minutes for the Netherlands, and no great opportunities created by either. A little bit stretched at times, a bit too transitional. So for these last 5-6 minutes, England need to work really hard to just try and hold the momentum of the game in their favour. And hopefully the subs that have come on, and this is what I was going to talk about earlier, is, you know, coming into a game, especially when it's a quick game, you know, and you're in the lead, is different to chasing a game when you're behind and you can kind of throw everything at it. It's a different mentality. And again, these are different things for players to be exposed to that they've got to be able to do, to come on, liven it up, or to come on and manage the game. And it's always a difficult thing to do as opposed to starting a game.
And of course, this game just has that extra edge to it because of the prospect of penalties. It is a semi-final. One of these sides will be in a final on Friday, and one will be in third place playoff, offside against Lloyd Smith, who's fast become a key player for Bristol City in her time there. He's part of the Southampton side that rose through the divisions, and he's also experienced at Chelsea and Charlton when younger. And Lloyd Smith in there, winning it back.
Yeah, several of these players were in Lydia's team when she was the under-17s manager as well, which includes Lexi Lloyd-Smith. So she'll have a relationship with Lydia that is obviously reforged again now that they're both at this age group.
Of course, Bedford's first camp in charge, so he'll be just getting the lay of the land in her new role. Remember, of course, Friday's game also live streamed on the England YouTube channel. I'll be joined by 50-plus cap Lioness Leanne Sanderson for that one. Mace. England just looking to see it out, something that they found difficult against the Dutch in recent times. Nice persistence to come out with the ball in the end from Denton. Leonard Gunning-Williams had England in front with her first half header when these sides met a month ago in a friendly. Eva Alder-Elbrink scored with mere seconds of the game left back in October 2024. Laura Blinkiller-Brown had England ahead, but Fenna Kalma equalised in the 94th minute. And that came 9 months after a very similar game where Hannah Silcock had England ahead and Kalma equalised in 90+3. So that's one sequence England will be desperate to end here.
It's great though for them, isn't it, for it to be that tight and that competitive, that it's going to take, you know, a lot of concentration, quality to be able to see it through, given that the teams are so tight. You'd rather that than, you know, your 5-0s and things like that. It's a much bigger test, and you have to make sure that you don't make those mistakes, because against teams like this, that they'll score, you know. So I think that's exactly what the players need to be tested with.
Denton forward. Lloyd Smith does manage to win the throw. And on a wider level, of course, that's why this competition was set up, to give these under-23 teams consistent, meaningful, competitive minutes against each other.
Yeah, I think clubs needed to see that the age group was really effective for players as well, as opposed to playing some of those sorts of games. And so I think that was a big part of discussions for quite a long time on how to make it even more competitive for this age group. So it's great that it's worked out the way that it has over the last 2 years, and so many of these players have benefited. You can see it's testing the decision-making, testing the quality at all times throughout the game, and really that's what we want. That's how players develop.
And of course, there's quite a few of these players who... Sari's taken a bit of a knock there.
She's taken a few in this game, to be fair, hasn't she? You know, she's doing really, really well to keep playing her game despite those knocks.
And for quite a few of these players, the international break can provide valuable, meaningful minutes where they're not getting quite as many as they might want at club level. Van Byron.
It comes back to the point I said about, you know, starting games.
What a ball that is. And it almost came to something for the Netherlands. It's Still not really away. And then it's just booted clear.
It's a good decision so they can regroup. I think, you know, in some of the clubs, some of the players that are playing WSL level aren't starting every game. So starting for your country is really important. The ones in this group that are playing WSL2 are playing a lot of minutes. And ultimately, it's the minutes, the experience that they all need to be doing lots of to be able to obviously make the next step up to the seniors.
And I know a few of these players have talked in the longer term about how exciting, as we see there's a minimum 4 minutes added on. England's, well, it's the UK to be clear, Women's FIFA World Cup bid for 2035 would be the first World Cup hosted in the UK since 1966. And a lot of these players are on that kind of trajectory where in theory they'd be near enough at the peak of their powers when a tournament like that came around. And they're of the generation that were watched and inspired by watching the seniors win at home in 2022 in the Euros. So in the much longer term, what an exciting thing that is to potentially have coming up. Here come the Netherlands, almost through, and Keating has to make a big save to deny Sophie van Vugt. One ball through, and out of nowhere, the Dutch almost equalising, in history for a fourth time in a row, nearly repeating itself, of the Netherlands finding a stoppage time equaliser against England in a 1-1 draw.
She deserves a huge amount of credit there, Chiara Keating. And again, it's because of her positioning is so positive that she was able to get close enough that that wasn't able to be chipped over her head, because often you can see in those situations, if keepers are indecisive, they're caught in between. And obviously she's straight out there, and it means that she's in a position to actually reach that before it goes over her head. So difficult for goalkeepers in that setting to not be caught in no man's land, you know. So fantastic save there by Keating.
If Keating is even a yard further back there, that is a goal. Simple as that.
Warning sign, though, for England. Last couple of minutes, this is where they have to show that they've grown in those other examples that you spoke about.
Have drawn a foul there. Still plenty of time here for the Netherlands to fashion something. That shot that we just saw from Sophie van Vugt is pretty much the Dutch's only notable shot on target all game, and it's not too much of a surprise that she'd be the one to produce it, given that she's definitely got a goal in her. Mia Enderby comes off. Speaking of goals, Enderby so close to scoring for England in that first half. Her shot tipped onto the post, and it's an under-23's debut for Vivian Leah, who is on loan at Swedish side Hammarby from Arsenal, where she spent her whole career. She's had loans at Southampton and Nottingham Forest as well, a lifelong Arsenal fan, and has played for all English age groups right the way through the system. And now gets on for the under-23s. And of course, the last box for her to tick off one day would be seniors. Got in the squad because Kira Barry has been called up to the seniors.
Yeah, I think she'll be in the squad for the Under-20s World Cup at the end of this year, Vivian Leah. I think she was fantastic in the Under-19s. So this is obviously, she's one of the younger ones in the age group, really, you know, so it's great that she's been called up into this squad now and is also getting the opportunity.
England trying to see this through. Nordman sliding in and losing it to Gale. England head for the corner. And the Netherlands get the throw. They've still just about got the time to fashion another heartbreaker. It would take us almost certainly, if they scored now, straight to a penalty shootout. There is no extra time. Thrown one by Elbrink. Firm challenge from Mace. The Netherlands have got the ball, but they just can't go anywhere with it. Such is the quality of England's press. More direct from Mayer. Comfortable header and room to run into on debut for Leah. And still Leah helps it on.
Offside. They're just trying to obviously get the support in the corner. I think it's Olivia McLaughlin there, tried to support Vivian Leah, but She was definitely in an offside position.
She's going to get a yellow card there, McLaughlin, and I'm not sure can have too many complaints. Was doing her best to slow the restart, you might say.
And again, Taya Goldie's been really decisive in winning those aerial balls and limiting the opportunities for the Netherlands.
One last chance for the Dutch to take us to penalties. You would expect this will be going into the box. They've only really had one shot on target all game. Rahina van Eyck comes up to take it. It's forward from Van Eyck. It's nodded down. It's thumped away by England. You might fancy their chances of finishing it once and for all on the break. England have done it. They are into the final on Friday against Norway or Sweden. Izzy Goodwin's goal inside a minute of the second half restart gives the under-23 Lionesses a deserved victory on the balance of play, having hit the woodwork 3 times in the first half. Even the most passionate Dutch supporter wouldn't doubt that England were good value for this victory. A massive building block in Lydia Bedford's first game in charge. They've got a showpiece final to look forward to in just 4 days' time. England 1, the Netherlands 0. So an excellent start for Lydia Bedford in charge of England's under-23s. They will face Norway or Sweden in the final on Friday, which you can watch here on this channel, where I'll be joined by Leanne Sanderson. But for now, Rhian Skinner reflecting on what we've just seen. England got that goal at the start of the second half that they'd earned from all the chances they created in the first. And then to hold on to it and avoid what had happened 3 times in a row previously in all those 1-1 draws against the Dutch. It's a great positive way for the new manager to get going.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is, as you say, I think England dominated the game overall. Obviously, second half was a little bit more loose. There's a few little challenges that they had to deal with where the Netherlands were concerned. And obviously, Kiara Keating's really made one save, and it's such a crucial save at a key time. You want to see that kind of learning from all those draws that you talk about when they've been ahead. And now they've actually maintained that to get that result, to get them to a final. And I think it just shows progress in the team. And given that a few of the players that have been really key as well have gone into the seniors, it's given opportunities to others, and that's what you want to see at this stage, isn't it? So it's a great result for England, and I think they deserve it.
And a 4th goal at England under-23s level for Izzy Goodwin. It was a fine finish. It was a nicely crafted and well-timed assist from Lena Gunning-Williams too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the challenge that they'd had in the first half that we were saying was that they were a bit speculative, the shots. You know, there's a few 25-yard shots, but then the ones that were the most effective were the ones from inside and in around the box. And obviously, the time that the pass is released so well from Lena Gunning-Williams, it just gives the quality time for that finish. And I think she took the goal superbly, Izzy Goodwin.
And how much of a confidence boost is it as well that this is done in a knockout game? Obviously, it's this newly created, it's only the 2nd season of it for those unfamiliar, European Championship competition. It's not the Euros. It's a series of collective matches against the top teams in Europe. And now we've got to the knockout stage. England doing it in a semi-final with a final spot on the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we said it within the game, that's the bit that's really important. You have to be able to show that you can deliver when it matters. And obviously, knockout stages are quite difficult to replicate, you know, to any kind of level. So this competition that's been forged, if you like, creates that bridge in the gap, really, to the seniors, because a lot of these players in the past, from 19s until you get to seniors aren't really in that kind of setting at an international level. So by showing that we've been able to do that, the format of the competition, it's preparing players mentally as well as physically for being able to actually do their jobs at the right level at the right time when it really matters. The penalties, we don't want it to go to that, but that again, it's hard to replicate these things. It's something that as international coaches, when I was involved in that before, we used to talk about a lot. How do we create that pressure for these players to have to actually, work through it? If they're not playing loads of club minutes, which sometimes, 19, 20, maybe they're trying to break into those teams. So this competition, I think, is a fantastic way to bridge that gap, and it will definitely prepare these players for, as you said, later on, this will be the age group really that we see in a home World Cup, if you like.
Hopefully in 2035. And
yeah.
Obviously there's a stress naturally for all of you watching at home and for us in our analysis on the win, the clean sheet and the collective from an England viewpoint. But who would you say were the particular individuals that stood out to you today?
I think Lena Gunning-Williams was really positive when she was going forwards. I think she created some of the best chances in the game. A pace, a physicality. She put some really good balls in the box. I think she stood out. I also think, at the back, Taya Goldie, I thought did really well. She just is a no-nonsense, but very calm on the ball. But she's just eliminated through her positioning and her technical skills. She's just eliminated threats for the Netherlands as well. So I think, when you've got the core sort of players in and around that are helping you to do that and stay calm in those sorts of situations, I think it helps the team and the players around them.
And you've worked right through those England age groups and, of course, at club level. You know all too much about what it's like to be out of work for a bit or in a different coaching role where you're not necessarily in the hot seat of the dugout. And then, as Lydia Bedford has today, you're thrust into that role once more. And no matter how experienced you are, we all have nerves on a first day in a new job. As the head coach, you probably can't quite show those as much as others, but it's her first camp, it's her first game, and she started like that. From your experience, just how big a relief will that be to her?
Well, I mean, I think the other thing as well is that Lydia will know most of these players as well. So I think whenever you're going into a setting, a lot of the apprehension, I suppose, is you're trying to build relationships with players, you're trying to work out what makes them tick, and so there'll be a little bit of opportunity for her to work with some people she's worked with before, so that'll settle things in a little bit. But every coach wants to win, so if you start on a winning game, then obviously it helps you to kind of settle down a little bit as well. So I think she'll be really glad of that, and now she's got a final to look forward to, so fantastic restart to her England career, if you like.
Absolutely, and we've got a final to look forward to, and you at home have got a final to look forward to. Set your alarms. It's a midday start British summertime kickoff on Friday, but we'll be on this channel about 10 minutes before or so with the build-up. It's England under-23s against Norway or Sweden. Thank you very much to Rianne Skinner for her company today. Insight and analysis, the perfect person to talk you through it. I'll be alongside Leanne Sanderson on Friday for that final. We'll see you there. Goodbye for now.